Hi guys, Shelly here. So I wanted you to see these cute little coasters I made. And I'm using the Designworks software from Bernina. And I also used BERNINA version 8 software. And the design is from a package of software from Bernina, from OESD. Oh, good grief, I can't even think the name of it right now. I'll put it in the below. I'll say it in a minute. But anyway, I just adjusted the design. Then I painted all this grid work. I'm going to put craft text. That's what the top part is. And then the back is felt. So it's stitched, painted, and all cut. And they're kind of cute. If you're a stitcher, you know these are bobbins. If you're not, they're just kind of nice little graphic, really thick, beautiful coasters with a felt back. So I've got my midi hoop. I sprayed it with 505. I've got cutaway, just cut away one sheet in here. I've got my craft text. And craft text is a paper product that looks like leather. And I'm just going to stick that down to the 505, and it's okay if it's kind of stuck, but not really. And then the other piece I have is felt. And I just took two pieces of felt and I used Wonder Under. You could use any sticky stuff, and I glued those together. So when it comes to that point, I'll put those on the back. You see the gray in the middle, and then the color matches the stitching. Here I used the black. On this, I'm going to stitch with blue thread, and I'm going to paint with a blue marker. So let me show you all the process. Okay, so here I am at the machine. There is my Designworks design. I started it in software, version 8, then I opened it in Designworks and changed to the painting, but first it gets stitched down. So I'm going to sew the craft text to the backing. So here we go. I'm going to tell it to stitch. And the first thing that's going to happen is it will just stitch these circles to hold that craft text in place. Craft text, you guys are familiar with. It's what the label of Levi's jeans is made out of, that brown fabric. And it's fabulous. I use a lot of craft text. I love it. It stitches well. It's very sturdy. You can wash it. It can get wet. And so I'm just using gray for my bobbins here. So I'll be back after those are stitched and I have my paint tool on. Okay, so now we're painting. So I took the needle out and I put the pen in. Let me make it a little bit darker. You can adjust the level. So I'll make it darker. I'll come back and repaint that first part that it was missing. And here I'm just rolling this little knob to make it darker or lighter. Sometimes it misses spots and you've got to kind of watch it, so that's what I'll do here. I'll make it a little lighter. You guys know it's always hard to video and create at the same time. So I'll come back when these are painted. I just told it to take those stitch lines and paint them instead. Isn't that cool? So this is what the paintwork tool looks like. It's just holding a pin. You put it on like it was a foot. So it just holds the pen. You have a cap down to protect it. And it was painting with that marker. Pretty slick. Okay, so now I have the needle and thread back in. I had to put the needle back, rethread it, put the 26 foot on, and it's doing some stitching over the painting. So with Designworks, you can stitch and paint, and then we're going to cut. And I've got to go back to the beginning, and I had moved a stitch, and I've got to restitch at the beginning of that little circle. So I'll do that right now. Yeah, I had moved it ahead, and I just moved it farther than I wanted. So I'll just let it go back and start at the beginning. And then I'll stop when it does the zigzag. Catches up to right where we are. Let's see if that was close enough. Perfect. Okay. So I'll be back in a second. In the version 8 software, I really reduced the density of this satin stitch. In the original design, it was much smaller and the satin stitch was very dense. The craft text, it's like thick paper. It's tough, and it'll cut if your stitches are too dense. So that's why I really reduced it. You can stitch on it. I'm going to show you right here, my very first trial ones, I didn't paint. I did all of the stitching all over them. So I didn't paint these at all. I just stitched. But I didn't get the back on these as pretty as I wanted, and I wondered if the paint would be cool. But that's the craft text with the stitching, and it will certainly hold that much stitching. Okay, so all the stitching's done, well, for the middle. And I want to put my backing on. So I used my 505 again, and I sprayed the gray side, and I'm just going to cover the back of my embroidery with this so that it's stuck to it and I know it's covering those edges. I'll turn it over, smooth it down. I'm pushing that felt, and that will stick perfectly fine. It's on the back. Okay, so now I've got my backing on. And when we come back over to the machine, it will sew that in place. So I'll do this last go around and the outline through the backing, and that will make the back of it nice. And then we'll cut it out with the cut tool and the hook. Okay, so all the stitching's done. And I've now put the cut work tool on. There's a knife here, a blade instead of a needle. I took the needle out, the thread out. And here's the cut work foot. It's in position 1. So I'll push the button and it will cut the angle for position 1. So here we go. This just cuts on 4 sides. And then it'll want me to stop and change the needle to position 2. So that little knife right now is cutting. And it'll cut on the other side. And it's going to cut so much closer and more perfect through all those layers than I would be doing with scissors. When I punch it out, I might have to clip the fuzz off of that felt a little bit. So here I'll move to position 2. That changes the angle of that little knife, that little blade. And so it'll do that cutting now. So mostly I just want you guys not to be afraid to use your version 8 software, to use your Designworks. Just make up stuff in the hoop. If any of you have sewn in the hoop, you kind of know what the steps are to make an in the hoop project work. So there's cut number 2. And then there's a little more of number 2. Don't get my finger over there. Boy, that'd be bad. So here's number 3. Move the angle again. I didn't combine the cuts between the 2 coasters, so I'll go to the top coaster and do 1, 2, 3, and 4 again. See that cut mark? Isn't that slick? And I told it how far away from the design I wanted it to cut. I was able to easily make that and see it on the screen in the software before I committed, so that I knew how far away it was. So now I go to number 4, and it will do the last cut. So I'll do that on the second one, and then I'll come back and show you the finished product. So here we go. Here's the finished product. I took it out of the hoop. It's stitched to the front. It's stitched to the back. I made sure that blue was in my bobbin. Ta-da! Now I got a bunch of cool circles from some other stuff too. So that's what I've created today. Just a bunch of these cool bobbin coasters. If you are a stitcher, you know they're bobbins. If not, they just look like great graphics. So these are painted, and these have stitching on the whole thing. I cut the backs out separate on these, and they didn't turn out as cool. I'll still use those, but I like them better when I decided after that to cut them all out at the same time, and they look nicer. So, Designworks version 8 software. Get yours out and use it. This is Shelley with Sew Shelley Quilts. Bye.